Hello and welcome to a new YouTube tutorial by Peakboard. In this video, I'd like to show you some possibilities regarding the use of data flows to process data from, for example, an ERP system, and to integrate these into a visualization. To do this, I've already started to create a board for small parts consignment with 4 different storage areas, which display a daily quota of tasks that need to be completed in the background. The fields for the individual storage areas contain a display of all the tasks of the day, a progress bar to indicate the current status of completed versus uncompleted tasks, and 2 small displays to indicate the number of completed and uncompleted tasks. This should allow the workers in each of the different storage areas to recognize which areas need additional resources to maximize the efficiency with which tasks are completed. At the bottom, the current date and the time should also be indicated. Now that I've created the visualization, I can get started on the process of connecting it to the data source. In this case, we'll be working with an SQL server, but we can just as easily use data from many other kinds of systems, such as SAP. In order to integrate the SQL server, I'm going to click on Data and then Data Source SQL Server, and then I'm going to name the data source. After that, I can get started with entering my DNS or IP address, and then go ahead and log in with my username and password. Once I've done that, I only need to enter the name of my database before I can go on to test my connection by clicking on Connection Test here. In this next step, I'm going to set up my SQL query and then set up a number of lines that should be loaded along with an interval at which the database should be queried. By clicking Load Columns, I can load these rows here and click on Preview to look at the data that I later want to process with my data flow. With that, we've succeeded in connecting our data source to the visualization. Next, I want to create a data flow. For that, I'm going to go under Data Flows and click on Add Data Flow, where I'll need to directly choose the data source that has the data I want to process. Here, I'm going to choose my list from the SQL server. At this point, I have a few possibilities. Under Sources, I can choose additional data sources that I want to work from. Under Add Steps, I can determine the steps in which the data should be processed. Here I can use Add Column to add another column to the list. Add Lookup Column is sort of like a join, but in this case we're just adding columns from another table to our list. Remove Column allows us to remove a column from the table. Using Rename Column, we can change the name of a column. Change Column Data Type changes the type of data that will be shown in a column. This is especially important for processing data out of Excel sheets, because data here will always be in string format, which needs to be converted to number format in order to perform calculations. Under Sort Columns, we can sort the content in our columns. With lower or uppercase column text, we can change the text of a column to be either all in lower or uppercase. Replace column text lets us replace the text in a column entirely. Set Date Time Format makes it possible for us to format our date and time settings as we like. Update Column allows us to use a script to update a column. Under Filter, we can add a filter, also through the use of a script. Join will connect 2 tables using a key, such as, for example, an article number. Union collapses 2 tables with the same columns into one. Using Aggregate, we can choose a single column to copy. Now, using aggregate functions, we can now process the content of this grouping. Min will show us the minimum value of the respective column, while max will give us the maximum value. Sum will add up the value of all the rows. Average will give us an average value of all the rows. count gives the number of rows, and distinct count will count up the number of rows while also omitting duplicates. Using take top, we can select a certain number of rows from the top, such as the top 5. Take last works the same way but from the bottom up. Using take range, a range of rows could be selected from anywhere in the table. In my case, I'm now going to choose aggregate, copy columns Q and Q1, and then count the number of entries present. Then I'm going to sort the table to ascend alphabetically to sort out the individual storage areas according to their rows. With this, a table is formed that shows the completed and pending tasks for each storage area. Now, we can go ahead and use this as a basis for another data flow. Here, the pending and completed tasks for individual storage areas should be combined in order to determine the total value. And just like that, I've already determined all the values that I needed for my visualization. I will now add the individual numbers for the areas as a source into the text boxes and progress bars that I created earlier. And that's it for our visualization. You'll find this and many other use cases that are presented in our videos in the Designer under Templates or on our GitHub. Thanks very much for watching. If you have any questions about our video or an idea for a topic that you'd like us to cover in our next video, just leave us a comment.